Hello, I'm Brian Hernandez with PMQ Pizza Magazine, and we are here today on location in beautiful Sardis, Mississippi at Tribeca Alley, owned by Dutch and Rebecca Van Oostendorp. Thank you so much for having us out here today,
Oh, it's
Dutch.
our pleasure.
We are going to take you guys through a just step-by-step tutorial on how to cook in a wood-fired oven if you don't already know. So we're going to get right into it, and I guess the first step is, how do you light the oven?
It's pretty simple. It's very much like you do a fireplace at home.
Okay.
My way of doing it is I build it here. The oven vent is actually outside the door, so it's important to start the fire near where the vent is.
Okay.
And I'll start out just by stacking some logs like this and take some paper or some other type of kindling, some cardboard, and get it burning right here in the center. A few pieces of bark or other small twigs. And then as the flame starts to grow, you just kind of slide it back directly under the vent, and then eventually you'll use one of your oven tools and just push it all the way back into the center of the oven.
Okay. How long does it usually take your oven to get up to temperature?
It really depends on the day and what temperature you start from before the fire starts. In our case, Wednesdays, the oven is at its coldest, and it usually takes around 90 minutes. But by Sunday, since we've had 4 or 5 days of heating in the oven, it takes as little as 20 or 30 minutes.
Okay. And what temperature do you guys usually cook at here?
Usually look for a surface temperature on the floor to be around 700 degrees, 700 to 750 degrees, and that puts the top of the dome at around 1,000 degrees.
Okay, so I mean, it's not quite up there, but the Neapolitan 800, 900 degrees, but
right.
Still enough to do a good, decent wood-fired oven,
yes,
or wood-fired pizza. So before you have to do that, you obviously have to clean it. What's the best method for cleaning wood-fired oven?
Well, you want to use a copper brush. I'm going to get these logs out of the way for a minute so we can kind of look at what's going on. In our case, we have a copper bristle brush with an aluminum handle, and you can just kind of sweep the ash back on the floor.
Okay.
And then on this one, you can loosen the nut, turn the brush sideways, and then sweep all the ash sideways toward wherever your fire is, whether it's left side or right side of the oven. And then once you're through with that, there's still going to be some small fly ash on there. You can dampen just a side towel, lay it over the oven, and then just sort of mop it around on the floor to pick up any of that remaining fly ash.
Well, that's great. So I mean, just kind of steam cleans it almost right
there.
there.
Yeah, you can hear it sizzle. It's a good way to kind of get an idea of how hot your floor is too.
So it took us no time at all to get this pizza ready to go. So why don't we go ahead and just demonstrate what it takes to make sure this thing is going to come off of this peel.
Yeah, in wood-fired ovens, you don't want to leave your pizza on the peel. It's got to get in the oven. So one of the tricks we like to use sometimes is to just give a little blow underneath it. And it kind of puffs it up so you make sure the pizza moves. And now off to the oven.
All right. So now you got that air pocket in there. It's just going to glide right in. So what kind of wood is the best to use in any kind of wood-fired oven? What do you use? We
use hardwood. The softest wood that we'll have from a species standpoint is like red gum. Most of what we burn is white oak, red oak, pecan. It really ultimately doesn't matter what type of wood you use. You just tend to use less hardwood than you would a softer wood.
Right.
For
Burns
the same
longer?
amount. Yeah, it tends to burn longer, gives you a little bit more coals.
Okay. Now, it's already getting done. You can see it. It's like nature's microwave. It just poofs up really quick. I know there are certain tricks. A lot of times when I've tried it out, you know, my bottom will cook really quick, but my top's not quite done. What is the best way to actually get that top to kind of catch up to the bottom?
Well, one of the things that is an important thing to consider is that once you put the pizza on the bricks, that pizza sort of shocks the bricks in that area. So you can sort of meter whether your pizza is cooking or not cooking based upon that one spot alone. So in this case, we're ready to turn on this one. You can see the bottom is starting to brown.
Okay.
And I'll just gently give it a turn, but I don't want to change its location in the oven. I want to try and leave it in the same place.
Just for consistency's sake?
Just for consistency's sake. But if you do find yourself having a really hot spot, you can lift the pizza into the dome, pull it all the way out, or sometimes you can even use a pizza screen like you see a lot of other pizzerias use.
So just kind of raise the
That
bottom
sort of insulates it and gives a little bit of airspace in between.
Is there a preferred spot that you cook in your oven, or that you recommend anybody does, or is it?
It really depends upon the conditions in the oven at the time. When you burn a fire in the oven, you really end up with sort of 3 different zones of heating. The hottest being the one that's really closest to the fire and closest to the middle of the oven. And then as you move further away, you sort of get these extra zones in it. So, you know, for pizzas like margaritas that are really simple and you're looking for a really fast cook time, they'll go right down the middle. But if you have something that has a bit more toppings on it, a little bit more complicated, you kind of want to tuck that off to the side to get everything started together.
Okay. Now you cook at it was 700, 750?
Yeah, we look for about 750 usually, and that's the actual surface temperature of the floor.
How long does it take you to cook a wood-fired pizza?
Margarita pizza on during the Saturday rush, probably 90 seconds to 2 minutes.
When you came here to this small town, I mean, this is not like New York style. So, did you have a hard time kind of educating the people in this town about wood-fired ovens?
Yes.
Or wood-fired pies, I'm sorry.
Truthfully, yes, we did. I mean, there was a lot of people that their only experience with pizza was the ones that they had at Pizza Hut or Domino's or somewhere like that. So obviously our pizzas look much more well done than most other pizzas they'd ever had. And especially in the very beginning, we would get a lot of people that say, I think you kind of burned my pizza a bit. You know, so we kind of have to coach them into the fact and say, no, this is really how it's supposed to be. And back at that time, we'd try and satisfy them, go back and recook the pizza. And then gradually, I think the smartest way to go about it is if you have somebody you know is that particular, you kind of make the change in stages so they don't really notice it.
Can you give me some of your best tips for cooking in a wood-fired oven? Maybe some of the things that tripped you up at first, something that you had to learn and that you now incorporate and use every day.
Sure, yeah. With the higher temperatures that you usually see in a wood-fired oven, first thing you want to try and use a dough formula that uses more water in it. So you're using a wetter dough. It gives you greater lift in the dough because you get more evaporation because the temperatures are so high.
Yeah, that's
the second thing is that you want to try not to move the pizza. Once you put it in the oven, you kind of want to leave it in that spot until it's virtually done cooking. Most of the time you want to think of maybe touching it 3 times. You put it in there, you touch it once to turn it, you touch it the second time to turn it, third time you touch it, you pick it up, you dome the pizza, take it out, cut it, and you're done.
Okay.
And the last part is really not to be afraid of a little bit of char. The char is what adds the flavor to the final bite. You know, we have people that actually call it pizza marshmallow. You know, it's kind of like that toasted, almost burnt marshmallow flavor. That it's the end.
Yeah. So all right, there you go. Wetter dough, 3-touch rule, and don't be afraid of that char because that's where the flavor's at. Thank you so much, Dutch. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
To read more about Tribeca Alley, check out the October issue of PMQ Pizza Magazine.